Hello and welcome back. It's been a little while since I've been here in the studio filming a video, just because the Pigeon Series was slowly coming out for a couple of months there, and we've recently been having a little bit of a heat wave. So we're kind of in a bit of a cool down period, but I'm sure it's going to come back. And just to kind of get back into things a little bit and have a heat wave appropriate kind of practice, I thought we would just sort of roll around a little bit together on the floor. So you can be on the floor like I am, but you can also be on a bed, kind of right in the center. The floor is I've mentioned this before, the floor is going to give you different feedback than a bed. You'll kind of get absorbed into a bed, but it's better than nothing if getting down to the floor is just not really in it for you today. What I would recommend having is something like a pool noodle. Whether you actually have a pool noodle or not, you could also take a blanket or a towel and roll it up into a tube. And then maybe a strap, just in case we want to use a strap, having one or like a housecoat waistband nearby would be helpful, okay? But what we are going to do to get started is lie down. Oh, and now part of what's going to make this a heat wave appropriate practice is the fact that we're going to starfish. So we are going to have as little skin touching skin as possible. So laying on your back here just for a moment, just really settle into the surface that you're on and feel the contact points between it and your body. Notice how things are feeling. If there's any areas that you would like a little more support, maybe your head wants to be propped up on a folded pillow a little bit. Maybe your knees want to have a little bit of a bend in them, and you can scrunch up some blanket or pillow underneath your knees to support it. We're just going to hang out here for a second. Noticing the breath fill your ribcage. The belly staying fairly uninvolved aside from to take just a little bit of overflow. Once the ribs have expanded as much as is comfortable, you might notice your ribcage rise, your belly rise, your belly fall, and then your ribcage fall. And if that's not happening naturally, I would invite you to give it a try, if it feels okay in your body, to really be aware of breathing into your ribcage first. That last little bit of overflow entering the belly, leaving the belly, and then the ribcage falling. Notice what happens in other parts of your body. As you're getting towards the top of your breath, are you creating tension in areas? Are you tensing your neck or anything like that? Or can you find a more comfortable, easeful breath that maybe ends before that extra tension starts to build up? Now, keeping that breathing pattern in mind, let's take the right leg and we're going to just send it a little wider. We're going to leave the left one where it is right now. Coming back to that breathing pattern with that one leg starfished. And just feeling what you feel. Noticing if, as that belly gets involved in the breath, does it pull differently in this area with that leg sent away a little bit? It might make you aware of the breath coming into the full body, even down towards the pelvic floor. And it's not that air is literally entering our belly, but as we breathe in and the diaphragm moves downward, it pushes on the contents of our abdomen. And that is where we get that rising or that movement or pressure down towards the pelvic floor. So you might become more aware of that when there's a difference in leg positioning. Let's bring that leg back in, and let's try this with the left leg, just starfished out to the side. Feeling the rib cage first, then the belly. Noticing any sensations maybe that might be happening around that left hip. Belly drops, rib cage follows. A couple more breaths here. Let's bring that left leg back in. A couple more breaths with our body just in normal Shavasana corpse pose. All right, so now let's send both legs just a little bit wide. And again, come back to that breath. We're not aiming for the splits or anything like that. It's just a comfortable width between your feet. Notice how that might pull differently on your pelvis. Your low back's arch may have changed a little bit. Noticing that sensation through the belly. And maybe you're noticing that one leg flops out easier than the other, or maybe it flops in. Just noticing we're not changing anything right now. We're not necessarily trying to influence anything right now. We're just observing. All right, now with the right arm, we're gonna start to snow angel that right arm up. As you go, just feel it. And if you hit a point where you're like, you know what, that's enough, then that's enough, that's fine. I'm gonna bring my arm right up out to the side here. And again, we're gonna come back to that breath where first we breathe into the rib cage, and then the belly, and then the belly lowers, and then the rib cage lowers. And now that we've got three limbs kind of spread wide, just notice how as the chest rises and lowers, what's maybe happening through that right pectoral, front of the shoulder, length of the arm, maybe even your neck kind of area. Okay, let's bring that arm back down to the side. Let's try the left side now. So again, just with some ease, slowly snow angeling that arm up out to the side. And if you hit a point, it might be a different point. For me, my arm doesn't want to go up quite as high. That's fine, just kind of hang out where it is. And again, come back to that breath and notice the sensations that occur through your torso, your chest wall, shoulder, arm, how they might be similar, different, how a different angle maybe affects it. We're just noticing. All right, and we'll bring the right arm up. Again, if they're at different heights, it's fine. Let the right arm go to where it's comfortable. Let the left arm go to where it's comfortable. All right, so we're going to bring the arms back down to the sides. They can literally just rest by your sides, or you can place your hands on your belly. We're going to bring the feet in, and we're just going to come back to breathing in a neutral position. Just for 2 or 3 breaths. Then we're going to take that right leg, we're going to let it come out again. We're going to start bending the knee to slide that heel in a little closer. And then we're going to play with rotating that hip. So the knee is going to kind of fall out to the side a little bit as we go over on that outer edge of the foot. And then we're going to come back up through center, and we're going to let that knee kind of knock inward so long as that's comfortable. We're not going to be there long. We're going to come back the other way and just notice where you're driving this motion from. Are you really pushing off with your feet, torquing your ankle to flip the leg side to side? Are you tensing through your abdomen and really getting your core involved? Or is most of the movement kind of stemming from right around this hip, outer thigh, inner thigh region? And does that limb feel heavy or light? How does this movement elicit shifts or sensations in other part of your body? What kind of range or speed or amount of bentness to the knee makes this the most easeful version of this movement? And can you come back to that rib cage, belly, belly, rib cage breathing pattern? Definitely gets you thinking about more things at once when you try to do that breathing pattern and wave the leg back and forth. Let's bring that leg back to neutral. We're going to move the left one out, bend the knee to slide the heel in, start waving this leg back and forth. And again, just notice the sensations that are arising, where the effort feels like it's coming from, any sort of cascading effects of sensation or pull through your body that might be coming from this motion, and just finding a really
easy, comfortable, light, small range. It doesn't have to be small, but just something that's going to feel pretty easy for you and not aggravating. And if any of this movement is aggravating, of course, please just go back to breathing on your back. Everything in yoga is just an invitation or a suggestion or an idea. It does not have to be set in stone. If it's not working for you, you either just rest for a moment or find something that you do know does work for you. All right, so now that we've gotten the hips a little warmed up with some rotation, we're going to take that strap or housecoat waistband or whatever it is that you have, it doesn't matter. And we're going to make a loop. I'm going to sit up for a sec. I'm going to get this loop done up kind of around my legs so that when I lay back and my feet touch, that strap catches my legs. You get to decide how big that loop is and how open your legs wind up, okay? If having them open in any amount is uncomfortable, what you can do is something I've done with strap and block before in other videos where you actually put your legs through the hoop of the strap and do the strap up a little tighter around your thighs so that your legs are just in neutral, but they're held together by the strap and you can just completely relax everything because you don't have to worry about your knees flopping out and you don't have to worry about them knocking in. So that would be a really great alternative to this if any amount of outward rotation is not feeling copacetic in your body today. But let's just, in this position, we've got some hip flexion, we've got some hip rotation going on. You might be noticing that with the hip flexion, maybe your pelvis has shifted a little bit, like your pubic bone has tucked up towards your belly button a bit. The back's a little flatter to the surface underneath you. You might be noticing that. We're just going to come back to our breathing here. So into the chest, overflow into the belly, belly lowers, chest lowers. You can do whatever you want to with your arms here. If you want to feel it, you can have. I'm not a fan personally of the positioning of one hand on the chest, one on the belly. It feels awkward for me for some reason. I prefer to have my hands kind of open opposite each other and have like thumbs resting on rib cage, pinky finger resting on core. And that allows me to feel my rib cage rise and then my belly rise and then my belly lower and then my rib cage lower. If you like the one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest, by all means go for it. But just if you, like me, kind of find that awkward, this is something that I find works really well for me. Maybe you will too. We're just doing our best to let our legs just completely relax, let that pelvic floor go, hips go, belly go. And now the final thing that we're going to do, which if you're on a bed, this may not offer a lot of sensation for you, or you're going to need to roll something up particularly thick so that as you sink into the bed, it is still holding you up a bit. We're going to take the pool noodle that rolled away, or your rolled up towel or blanket, and we are going to get it placed underneath the back, going across the spine, not along the spine, across the spine. And you can experiment with where on your back that noodle crosses. I'm kind of craving it around bra band height. Okay, so I'm just gonna get myself positioned here. I've still got my legs supported in butterfly. Arms can be out to the side. We're going to inhale. And exhale. And almost exaggerate or become aware of the idea that your back can kind of extend or arch over that pool noodle, chest plates, sternum moving towards the chin. And then as we breathe out, it can kind of move back down. And depending on where you have your rolled up towel or pool noodle, it might feel more obvious. But for now, we're just going to kind of exaggerate that motion of inhale, chest raises, comes towards the chin, and then exhale, back relaxes and comes back down. And then as you go, you can make it less exaggerated, less like forced and super visible, but just keep the awareness of the sensation that when we breathe, it is three-dimensional, and we do actually have a very small amount of back extension and flexion component to our breathing. A supple spine is so important for so many reasons. Even with breath, that teeny amount of back extension, it makes a huge difference when it's there versus when your back is really stiff and it just feels like nothing can happen there. All right, and then we can just let go of that really purposeful breathing. Just be here, melt into the strap around your knees, melt into the rolled up whatever underneath your back. Just breathe however feels most natural and just enjoy the sensation of these props around or under you. Of course, if anything is uncomfortable, then remove them and enjoy this restful position without them. All right, and then when you're ready, we're going to start to bring those knees in towards each other. We're going to start to roll ourselves onto a side so that we can prop ourselves up enough to get that pool noodle out. You can rest on your side for a moment. And when you're ready, you can help yourself up to sit. So that was a longer than I anticipated, just breath work, restorative, starfish and a heat wave practice for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.